for it to pop up on Twitch. Yep, we're live now. We're all good over here. At everyone. All right, so while waiting for people to pop in, DJ, thank you for that subscribe. 23 months, man, it's crazy how long we've known each other by meeting in the Xbox UAL chat, you know, and then going from there. What's it, like 5-6 years ago now, almost?
Yeah, it might be that long actually.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago, man, that's a long time. Time does fly. When you meet like-minded individuals who love the things you love, maybe not in the exact same ways, and that's some of the things we'll talk about today. But before we get into the topics that we're going to be covering, I'm going to let you know who's joining me today. I got my man DJ Quick the 5'9".
Here, what's up, everybody?
And everybody's favorite villain, Sigma Gears 9.
I don't know if I'm the villain of any of these stories, but what's up, everybody?
I want to thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully this will be a starting back the Omniverse Comic Discussion back up. There's a lot of good things going on in comics. A lot of stuff coming out. And we'll be getting into some of those things right now. We'll be covering The Boys, particularly Soldier Boy. We'll be talking about Miss Marvel. And we'll be talking about Multiverse of Madness and all the mixed reviews we've gotten from that. So let's get right into it. The Boys. Sigma, were you able to catch up?
Yeah, there's only like a single episode left, right?
Yes, 7. I think
Yeah.
6, 7 comes out this week. 6 just came out last week. So this will not be much spoiler heavy. So the Boys are kind of general discussion about Soldier Boy. We'll be talking about him. Not much after episode 6 or 7. We'll be kind of talking about some of his earlier stuff.
Okay.
The reason why this topic came up, I was on Facebook actually scrolling, and it's a comic, New Rockstar, I follow them, and I saw that there was a post on there saying, pretty much that Homelander's, a villain for the most part, but is the jury still out on Soldier Boy? And somebody in the topics was like, no, he didn't actually kill anyone. And I put that the jury should have never even deliberated. It should have came right back in as soon as they walked out that he was guilty. And his response was that even though he killed like a Mother Milk's family, he did it by accident. So that doesn't make him a bad guy. So he's not like guilty of being a bad guy. So what are your guys' thoughts?
That's still murder. It's accidental murder, but it's still murder. Like, I'm only caught up to maybe episode 4, but just from my comic knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the comics. Even from a comic standpoint, it's still like, no matter what, he's killed innocent people, whether it's accident or not.
Mm-hmm. You sound a little.
Yeah, you're chopping in and out.
Chopping just a little bit.
Oh,
There we go.
it might be my network.
No, that sounds good. That sounds better.
Okay.
But I think I got the gist of what you were getting at. That like even though it's like accidental, like it's like casualties of war or whatever you want to call it, like he's still responsible and culpable, right? Like I think like that's the entire premise of the whole series, isn't it? Is that like the collateral damage caused by these superhero characters, it goes unchecked. Like they don't have any
oversight.
responsibility.
Yeah.
There's no check and balance at all when it comes to superheroes.
Yeah, so like yeah, that just because it was an accident, that's a very weak use.
Right.
So like I even find that hard to debate. Like, how could you have a stand like that when the show itself is telling you how wrong
Right.
it is? Like,
Right.
that's the thing. Like, that's the catalyst that has the whole back and forth between the boys and the suits and stuff. It's
Mhm.
because there's no accountability for when they do exactly that. So when Soldier Boy does more of that, like it's Mother's Milk's reason for being in the boys, right? Like, because he has that lineage, like
Right.
Butcher and Huey. How could you say like, oh no, he's not that bad? Like,
Right. And then here's my thing though, like it wasn't just like there was an explosion. He by accident he blew something up and they were a casualty of it. No,
or like he failed to do, like he
Right.
was trying to reach something and he
Right.
wasn't in time, or yeah.
he threw a freight car at someone who stole some. Yeah, he threw a freight car at someone who was stealing or something like that, and
Right.
the freight car went through the house, and that's what I mean by the amount of overkill that he used for that situation. He might not be as bad as Homelander, like his complete disregard for human life altogether. I don't think is on the same level as Homelander. Like I don't think he sees himself above humanity, but I don't think he sees humanity as
like a different thing entirely.
Right.
He's like, I'm
Right.
like the best of humanity versus
Right.
Homeland, who's like, oh well, we're something different and they're
Right.
over there beneath us, right?
right. So he's like the
He doesn't
typical
see himself as a god. He
right.
sees himself as
Mhm.
the uplifted, evolved form of people.
Right. Now he does see himself as a patriot. He sees himself as a patriot. Like he stands for America. Like if you hear him talk, he talks about all these like quote unquote good boy American things. Like, and he was like in these movies, like he was in different movies and stuff like that.
He did the Captain America style PSA.
Right. But like you said, like if this was, and that's what kind of got me, this, they give the same benefit of the doubt to real life people in positions of power when they commit these mistakes or accidents, and they feel like, oh well, it was just an accident, okay, we shot a guy 90 times because we thought he was somebody else, right? They're not a bad guy, right? No, you didn't. You're still a bad. You didn't do your due diligence to make sure something like that didn't happen. You chasing someone who's, I forgot what he stole or something. He threw a freight car through a house, right? You were bringing you were bringing a submarine, like to to
A water gun fight?
yeah, like it just didn't make any sense. Like the level of force that was used for the crime just didn't make. Now, if he was fighting another supervillain and we've seen this, right? We've seen this in even in the Superman movie in Man of Steel, where he was fighting Zod, and we saw he tried to preserve life, right? He had to make that choice, right? These heroes don't care. They're just, if they're fighting whoever they're fighting or doing what they're doing, the collateral
somebody else's
damage.
job to clean it up.
Right. So my question is, because we do get more insight to him, while he's not the worst guy, he is still a bad guy. So up to episode 5, I believe, this isn't a spoiler for anything past that, when they go to Herogasm and Mother Milk tells him, you killed my family. He's like, which one?
Right, because he knows he's done this sort of thing.
Right.
He's aware that it's a thing that has happened.
Right.
And he's not even remorseful for it. He's like, oh well, it's part of the job, right? That that people get killed in the line of me doing my duty as a hero. Like, no, like you gotta have some accountability.
PZ the One said, do they have any real supervillains? The villains that they created are the villains. They leaked out some what's the name, Compound Z to V, yes, to show that, hey, there's other people who have powers in other countries. You're gonna need these soups in the military, because that was their big point. They wanted to get the soups in the military to get all that money, right? And then when that didn't work, they were trying to sell these samples of temporary V to them for the soldiers. They're like $1 million a pop, you know what I'm saying? So they were trying to get their foot in the military business, and they were creating these fake villains in order to show that there was a real need for them in the armed services. So aside, honestly, the real villain is pretty much the ones that are supposed to be protecting everyone. You got Homelander.
Yeah.
And I don't. And here's my question: I don't even know who really runs VOT at this point. Who is the person at the top? I don't know. And I think they're doing that on purpose. I think
there's someone above Stan Edgar.
because if you're up till 5, if you're up till 5 or 6, he got arrested.
Well, no, yeah, like I'm up to 7. However many are out right now.
Right. And no, he didn't get arrested. He was put on like a permit, like an extended vacation.
Sabbatical.
Right.
Yeah, you know what the
Right.
golden parachute type.
Yeah.
stuff.
So I feel like if he was the one in charge, you know, number one, I don't feel like he would have been as hands-on as he was. He would have had other people to do those things. But I don't feel like we met the main, even though, because he was working, when we see Soldier Boy in the past, Edgar was working for somebody at that point as well. He was very
Yeah,
young.
like, the company still existed, but
Right.
he was like a cog in the wheel. And
Right.
in the future, you know, he became kind of
Somebody big.
CEO or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, Soldier Boy, right, was betrayed by his whole team. Nobody liked him. They all turned against him because originally we thought a weapon killed Soldier Boy, but you know, obviously we found
Yeah,
he's
that
alive.
was the running.
Right. It was
thing.
like, oh, we need to get this weapon, right? But no, his whole team betrayed him, and he was captured by Germans. Now, these Germans, I believe, are working with VOT.
No, Russians.
Russians,
Yeah,
yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
those were-
Yes. So they are working with VOT because VOT has German roots. If we remember from Storefront, who was with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Germans with VOT for a very long time. And that's how they extracted the compound V from Soldier Boy, and VOT ended up with it. So there is some connection there. I'm wondering how
But no,
far.
I don't think. I think you might have that backwards.
I think that they
Yeah.
got the compound V from Soldier Boy.
Who's
I
they?
thought Compound V was created by German Nazis.
Yeah, like the
like
founder
season
of Vault.
two.
Like,
Right.
He is. Yeah,
Is-
he's a German
Yeah.
Nazi.
Right.
Nazi scientist.
But that's what they're saying. Like they kept perfecting the formula when they got the formula from Soldier Boy. That's how all these other soups came to be. That's why that beam that Soldier Boy has, he didn't have that beam before, but somehow that beam disintegrates any traces of Compound V in anyone's system, so they essentially lose their powers. So we saw that with Kimiko when she lost her powers, she couldn't heal anymore. When she got hit with that blast, she lost her powers, and that was because of the Compound V. It got disintegrated any traces of a Compound V in their system. My theory is that they were experimenting on Soldier Boy in order to farm the Compound V from his blood because I don't think he was created by Compound V.
He had to have been.
They never go into that. That's a good point. But they never.
That's. I feel like, not. I think it's season 2 where they revealed that the origin of Soups is Compound V. That
Right.
There's no
Current-
such thing as a natural born.
current suits
superhero.
though. Current suits.
Like you're saying current Soups, but there weren't any anyway. Like that's why it was like, oh, God blessed only America with Soups. Like no other country was having them until
That's true.
Homelander went and shipped it out.
That's true.
But, like I don't think there was ever like. There's no such thing as a natural soup. All of them are artificial.
Okay.
They've been experimented on babies for forever. But yeah, like it is a little weird. Like, okay, Vought sold out Soldier Boy to the Russians.
Mhm.
But it's like
Why?
they wanted to get rid of Soldier Boy because Soldier Boy was a problem. Like they couldn't handle him anymore. He was too unruly. The team hated him. Everybody hated him. He's essentially Homelander.
Right.
Pretty
But
much same personality.
yes.
But it was like because they had like another replacement for him upcoming, which was Homelander.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, all right, well, they can deal with him. But what I'm wondering is, was this their best option in terms of getting rid of him? Like, is it because they couldn't kill him? Like, they have no way to kill him? Like,
Yeah.
is that what the Russians were trying to do? Figure out how do you kill Soldier Boy?
Because what they were saying was they.
is.
Go ahead, DJ.
Well, that could be. I get where it's coming from. That theory, like so far, what I've been coming up with it. Maybe they were trying to use Soldier Boy as a sort of maybe like a deterrent for any super on his level. I mean, like I said, he did not have that beam.
Mm-hmm.
Start out. And if that beam erases supers, pretty much erases that compound B in their system.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I don't think that was their.
Started noticing, oh man, is a problem.
I don't think that was their original intent. I think that was
like that seems accidental.
Yeah, that seems like right. I don't know. So the trade there was they knocked him out. They couldn't kill him. They talk about the guy, some type of he just knew he got knocked out. Didn't say he got hit or whatever. He just got knocked out. He woke up and they kept poking and prodding him, and eventually that led to that in his chest. But they don't say what the outcome of those experiments were. Like, how was it? It could have been Vought side could have been getting rid of Soldier Boy, like you said. That could have been their way of getting rid of him, making room for Homelander. But what did the Russians do with having him for all that time?
Yeah, like because if Compound V is an American-made super soldier serum, the Russians, of course, would have a vested interest in replicating it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get some product, in this case Soldier Boy, and you try and reverse engineer it. But for as long as they've had him, we've not really seen any like Russian soups.
Right.
So they clearly haven't succeeded.
Right.
But whatever they've been doing, they've been continuously working on this guy for years and years and years, because he was still like there were still scientists in that lab. It's not like they locked him up and forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were still working on whatever they were working on. It's just not clear what it was the Russians were trying to achieve. Like, did they want to figure out how to kill him so that they can maybe have a deterrent against any other American soups, or like were they trying to figure out how to extract something that they can make their own soups? Like, don't really know.
Right. Now,
Maybe both.
Maybe both. Both would be useful.
Well, now we say that his team hated him so much that they betrayed him, and Vought was in on it. Vought knew what was going on. There was no way they gave the approval. They got rid of him, right? Now, what's standing in the way of a team doing that to Homelander? Is it because he's a lot more powerful and potentially they're not able to knock him out? Now, you would think that Vought would have an answer to that, right? Because they raised him.
Some sort of contingency.
Yeah, they would have something just in case he went off the rails, right? There's no way that they gave this super powerful being free roam. They might have let him think there's no contingency to him, but I'm 100% sure, as well thought out as their plans have been, how shady they have been, there has to be some contingency for Homelander in case he went, rogue.
Yeah, and I think for some reason, like, Vought / Stan Edgar thought that they had one. They thought that they could control him, and like Stan Edgar seems to still think that he controls. He's like, he says it multiple times that Homelander's afraid of me because of this, that, and the third. Like he has his own reasons and thought process as to why that is. And it's like, but like, why should he be? Like, it's literally, and Homelander even says it himself. Like, really, the only thing that's kind of keeping him from going ballistic is the fact that he still craves love. Like, he wants people to like him.
Right.
And like, he's a very deranged person, so he doesn't know how to get that organically. So he'll force it out of you and fake it as long as it seems like people like and love him, he's okay. And he'll continue to play that part because people like that from him. That's literally the only thing keeping him in that box.
And I agree with that.
Said, here's okay with him.
Right.
Yeah, he's like he'll go to that next if he can't get the love, right?
Right. Now, I don't know if this is going to come to fruition. I do think they have something else besides just, their intimidation. There has to be something else. There's no way you create this powerful weapon and you don't have a way to turn it off.
Well, I mean, we've not seen it. Homelander has killed Vaught's staff. He killed what's her name? Marilyn? Marilyn, what's her name? Yes, his handler at first. Yeah. Like, he killed her. Like, he's killed other soups on his own team. Like, at what point are they gonna step in and be like, all right, Homelander, you gotta chill, otherwise we're gonna do the thing. Like,
I don't think he knows about a thing. Now, if you have a thing,
he would need to in order for them to have control over him. Like, they think they have him under control, but how?
No, I don't think they're using.
For the most part,
I don't think they're using that as control. Like, I don't even think they would let him know about it. But I think they would have it just in case. Because let's say they did have something. And
you're saying, like, break in case of emergency. But, like,
right.
When is the emergency?
That's a good question.
Because this dude keeps killing people.
Right. But we've seen that with all of them. All of them were killing people. We saw A-Train kill people in it. We've seen.
But at the very least, A-Train is still in that Soldier Boy boat where like he's doing it because of disregard and you know, like it's not like I'm on a murder spree or like I have an agenda, so these couple people need to die. Right. I mean, he went down that path a little bit.
Right.
But it's not like it's like I don't know. Is Homelander fooling some of these people? Like, do they not know how deranged he is? Is that like kind of maybe why they aren't trying to get him under control? Because we all know how crazy he is, but I don't know. Like, does Stan Edgar understand what he's doing?
I think there's certain things he understands that he's doing. I think the only person who knows about everything is probably Ashley, because she was like his cleanup person for a while. I think Edgar knew about certain things maybe, but I don't think he knew about everything. I don't think anybody at the top knew about everything, because who would tell them that information? Like, he's not gonna know he killed another Soup because that Soup's dead, and who's gonna tell?
Yeah. But I mean, he's not stupid though. He's not stupid. So it's like, all right, the brand new member of what's the name just kind of
disappeared. Right? What happened to them? Oh, maybe
like where's Maeve? She's a long-standing member.
She's on a retreat. Right?
You not gonna tell us where she at?
Right. Let's pay to the chat. Soldier Boy is trash, said Nick the OG. Russia is using the super soldier serum on a bear. PZ the one. I think Vought couldn't control Soldier Boy, so they decided to get rid of him for someone they could control early. And Artem Harb, first time chatter. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for chatting. A-Train heart twist is insane. Yeah, later on, the stuff that goes on with A-Train is definitely interesting. And we'll talk about it later today. Is he too far gone for redemption? We see in the and we'll start winding down on the boys, and I'll be getting a little into the weeds. But we saw that when he went to Hero Gasm and he saw Huey, he apologized for killing his girlfriend. Right? He apologized, and you know what happened? It's because Ashley told him about himself. He said, "You don't care. Yeah. If it was you doing it, you wouldn't care. But now that it's happened to you,
you have done it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that it happened to you, all of a sudden we're supposed to care, and there's supposed to be justice about it. Like, you've done exactly this to other people, and it's crazy. Like, Butcher mentions it when they start dealing with the temporary V. Like, the compound V just makes you more of yourself, and I guess for Soups, they can't see past themselves. Like, they're so self-absorbed, right? Mm-hmm. That like, pain of the world around me isn't important. Only my pain, only my struggles matter. And like, he really needed someone to just spell that out for him. Like, look, you've done this exact damage that you're feeling to other people.
Right.
So why should anyone give a crap about what you're going through when you do that to them and nothing happens to you? And like, he really had to, like, that's what it finally clicked, and he gave Huey like a meaningful apology.
Yeah.
Because like, now he got it.
Yeah, he knew. He's like, I messed up. But
it's almost like a disability in a way. Like, you could sort of make an argument that like, like maybe they're so they have such a disregard for other humans because of Compound V. Like, there's something in the serum that heightens or diminishes that kind of empathy trait in your humanity. Like, because that seems to be going around, except you have exceptions like Maeve and Starlight, who I guess are caring enough that, you know, their empathy is what do you call it?
It's just
natural.
Now, it's just genuine. It's just who they are, and like you said, and they say that about the super soldier serum from Marvel, where it just makes you more of what you are. And we saw that with John Walker and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you know, we see certain, like a Young Justice, where they go through counseling, right? They have to see his shrink and stuff and get signed off on that stuff. We don't see those same checks and balances on the boys. We don't see Soups who have to sit down and talk about their feelings and work out issues and get cleared for duty. They just go and do it, whatever it is, right? They don't, because Vought, I think, in a way, likes them that way, to where they can have them do some of the shady stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of stuff, even with just these Soups, where they would do stuff and Vought would cover it up. We saw with the senator, she did something and that got covered up. We saw with A-Train in the beginning, you ran through the girl where they covered that up, right?
Because Vought at its core is not a superhero agency. They're they're a talent agency.
Right.
They're like a marketing firm. They make movies and TV, and their heroes are literally just actors.
Right.
Like their talent, they're an image that they profit off of. They're like singers that are at a music label. So they don't care about their personal life. They don't care about any training or whatever. All they care about is the image. If you look nice in the suit, say these talking points, then the people believe that something's going on. They don't care if it actually is or not.
Right. We got a couple more. Homelander's literal life being convicted. He was a good guy still. So yeah, he can probably convince people in the universe. Yeah, PZ the one said, yeah, probably laying the groundwork for redemption with a new heart. So that's going to be very interesting. It's interesting how both Huey and A-Train have sort of similar abilities. Yes, I'm still hoping they're going to kind of... I'm still fuzzy on... I know he kind of teleports a little bit. I kind of want to see them kind of go further into what his little powers kind of are. Like his little temporary powers. They don't really explain it very good. But
I think it's just teleportation.
Like, I think that's it.
I find it funny how, like, apparently Compound V gives you, like, base superhero stats.
Right.
Like, you get strength, you get durability and stuff, and then on top of that, you just get
whatever your power,
like an actual superpower, right? But then for someone like Homelander, he's kind of like a second generation soup because he was born like with those powers. Therefore, he has the base powers, and I guess he's even stronger. But then he has two powers. He has the eye beams, and he has the flight.
Right.
So it's like, so is this like the path that they're going down? Like, if they keep breeding these people who have Compound V in their blood, like, will we keep getting stronger and stronger and way more wackadoo, out of control superheroes down the line? Like, that could be a real problem in the future of this world.
We see that. We see that in My Hero though, like where they're talking about
that's the thing that happened.
Each generation goes by, the quirks get more and more, more powerful. So we definitely could see that because it started with Soldier Boy, who even at his time was unkillable, right? He couldn't fly, but he was super strong. I think he was just way stronger than everybody else. Way stronger than everybody else. I mean, that's it. That shield, like when Huey couldn't even lift it.
Yeah, he couldn't.
Yeah, it was like he was very competent in hand-to-hand combat. He didn't even see any. Like they talked about them not really being at D-Day. They kind of just showed up as a photo op. We're gonna run it down on the boys. We're gonna cover up Miss Marvel next. I'm not. You both seen Miss Marvel a couple episodes, maybe?
Yeah. I've not started yet.
Okay, so we're gonna leave this one spoiler free. We're just gonna talk about impressions, thoughts. We're gonna avoid from any particular plot points or anything that's going on aside from that. Maybe vibe, feel, some of the mood that it covers. My initial thoughts is when I heard about it coming out was, that might not be for me. It seems like it's gonna be like a teen drama. Might not be my thing. I'll still watch it just because I like to have knowledge of it, what it was going on.
It's tied into the whole
Marvel
universe. So.
Right. I love it. I think it's probably one of my favorite Disney Plus Marvel shows. Like as far as like the feel of it, I think it has the best feel out of any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows.
What was your favorite before this?
So my favorite before this probably would have been Loki.
Okay, I can see that.
Loki number 1, WandaVision number 2, and then everything else kind of ties together towards that end point. But I love the how they're dwelling to her heritage, right? Everything's tying into that. The music, the clothing, the set. I love that whole feel. How they're touching on the Muslim culture. They're talking about and her relationship to that. It's like the Marvel's version of like Bronx Tale. It's like it's dwelling into the things that we didn't know, that we might know. Like some of the same feelings you get from Rami. You watch Rami.
Right.
It's some of that same stuff, but we put a Marvel's... Like, this would be a good show, even if it wasn't a Marvel... I mean, it's a good show. Not a good Marvel show. It's a good show.
It can stand apart from the lineage and stuff.
Right.
Like, it's just telling an interesting story about interesting characters on its own.
Right. And the way that they use the artwork to kind of... symbolize stuff. She'll be thinking about something, and you'll see you'll see like a drawing of Captain Marvel pop up, flying across the screen, stuff like that. Like I love that. It's kind of like the Ally McBeal type,
Okay.
Well, was it Daria? Was it Daria?
Well, Daria was all animated, but no, I think you're like Ally McBeal did have like weird like
drawings and stuff,
graphics,
right?
And stuff
Okay.
that would,
Yeah. Um, the acting is very good. I can't say I've met one bad actor in there. Um, there's some musical situations that are very, 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 very good. Now, usually in like stuff like that, like here's the thing, and I don't mean like a funny the Falcon Hawkeye with the Rogers musical, that was funny.
Yeah,
That was funny.
that was kind of a joke.
Right. Some of the stuff in here is actually good. It's like really good. It's not like, oh, it's funny. No, it's good. Um, Sigma, for you, before we get into DJ's thoughts on what he's watched, um, what were your impressions of it since you haven't watched it? What were your impressions of just seeing like the trailer and whatnot?
Um, yeah, honestly, like it was kind of flying under my radar. Like, to be honest, I'm starting to feel a little lukewarm on a lot of the Marvel stuff. Like Doctor Strange, which we'll get into later, was kind of like a big blow to that like level of like excitement for the next Marvel thing. But like that one, I was like, I will watch it, like because I like most of the shows. Like I did not like Hawkeye all that much either, but like I'll check this out eventually. But I'll just wait till all the episodes are out.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I was hearing you talk about it. Other people were saying like they like the style and the feel of it. So like I've gotten a little more hype, but like I still want more of the episodes to be out. And I think it's only like a 6-episode series.
Yeah, it's almost over.
Yeah, so it's almost done. So I'll probably start it soon. But yeah, like I'm kind of excited now to see like what they do with it because like Kamala Khan is not a character that I have any like real knowledge of. Like in the past, like she hasn't been featured on any movie or cartoon that I'm aware of. Like she was in that recent Avengers game, which apparently was not great. But I don't know. Like I'd be interested. Like if she's an interesting character, like I'm more than happy to like learn about her and become a fan because like that's always fun. But so yeah, like I'm still gonna give it time. Like I'm not super hyped, but I think from what everyone is saying, I'll probably will enjoy it once I get to check it out.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
DJ, what are your thoughts, man? Tell us about what you're thinking.
Me being a huge fan of anything Inhuman they've been showing
Mm-hmm.
ever since the terrible show that came out. We're not even talking.
You're breaking up just a little bit.
Laptop. But I am actually really enjoying it, especially with the emphasis on her culture.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the little bits of art you see in the background, sometimes the little comic pops. Um, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and the fact that they linked everything with Muslim culture as well as her being I'd say, first generation American born, so she has to
Mhm.
deal with that too, on top of dealing with having respect for her culture and her background, and then learning more about it, and while also learning about her powers. It's kind of fantastic to me the way they're doing it and linking it together.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too spoiler heavy, but when you were talking about the musical feature, the only thing I could think of was that famous. And yeah,
Yeah.
so, and that really got me because it was really good.
Yeah, it was definitely really good choreography. The music is really good. Even just the music for the show is really good. It is just really, really good. I will say that let's picture. Honestly, I was surprised when Miss Marvel said PZ to 1 just because of view and culture. Because Ally McBeal is going to be She-Hulk. It definitely She-Hulk feels from that. We don't talk about
Yeah.
about the Inhumans. That's very true because of the show. Show was definitely
True.
not good.
Yeah, that show was
I still
terrible.
have hope, but it's very hard to do in Humans, and we won't get into that because of how similar they are to the X-Men. So it's definitely hard to do. But Miss Marvel, really good. I love the actors, the clothing, the music. I think they did a great job. I'm also lacking that it's not. To me, Moon Knight was very recluse from the rest of the Marvel stuff. Everything doesn't have to tie into each other. I feel like you'd be able to establish these characters in their own little small part, right? And then maybe some later stuff they do can reach out. So I love that it's separate but part of the rest of the MCU. I think that's what
But
helped.
see,
Hmm.
with that though, you gotta think, Paula, it has to be linked to the rest of the universe because she is a fan. That's the whole thing.
What I mean by
About her.
linked, I mean where it doesn't have to. Oh well, we saw this in this scene, which connects to this, or this was left behind at the end of that. Oh, we saw a poster of of the new Captain Falcon, Captain America. So
Show your moves.
right, where everything had like with Loki, there was connecting to everything else. Right.
Mhm.
Hawkeye was connecting to Spider-Man in a way with Wilson Fisk and Daredevil and that stuff. Moon Knight was more self-contained, where it showed some stuff about the GDC, about the global uh, relocation, whatever that board that helped with the people who came back from the blimp. So it showed that it was in the MCU, but it didn't try to leave so many Easter eggs where it had to something had to mean something in the rest of the MCU. It defined itself. It explained those characters, and it built that world without worrying. So because I feel like that's good sometimes, but then you, especially a newer character, you spread that thin, and often you touch on that stuff more without really kind of focusing on the main stuff for that character. So that's what I mean by that. We hear some mentions of like Eric, what's the name, the professor from Thor who talked about dimensional travel. Remember him, Eric Langster? He got he was in the first Thor, right? Right. So
Or like that.
so
Avengers being controlled by Loki and all that.
right
jazz.
with the Tesseract. Yep. So we see some touch of that stuff, but I love that it's kind of just contained within itself. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need anybody crossing over. Honestly, like I'm happy with what I'm watching. I don't need anybody coming from any other shows and showing up. Eventually, they're gonna have to touch on Miss Captain Marvel because they're gonna be doing the Marvels at some point. But right now, I think it's just kind of just good with what we see. Bama, what's going on, man? What's going on? Thank you for coming through. Thank you for coming through. Any other thoughts on Miss Marvel? Hopes, dreams.
I am. Where the story's going right now, I am very hopeful that we end up getting young. I'm sorry. I just want to be a series or a movie.
Well, we see them build into that. I think eventually, once Wanda finally gets her kids back, I think, and that will take us into Doctor Strange. But once Wanda gets her kids back, they'll start to kind of working on, because we've seen bits and people who are part of the Young Avengers. We'll be getting we'll be getting Ironheart. She'll be coming later. Some of that stuff. So they're building towards it, I think, and I think that's coming eventually. But I don't think it's. I think it's at least a couple years off.
Yeah.
Sigmund, what about you? What are you expecting out of Miss Marvel?
I don't really know what to expect, but
And that's good.
it seems like it has a good footing from what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were saying, like let it breathe on its own first. Like let her be established as her own character, so people who identify with that character can like
Right.
get to see her do her thing before she has to team up with whoever else and becomes
Right.
part of some larger thing and kind of lost in a bigger narrative.
Right.
As Marvel movies will always eventually do.
Right. So, as a brown girl from Jersey City, she's definitely holding her own. So, great job to Kamala Khan. Love the show. Definitely can't wait for the last couple episodes. Sad to see it end, but definitely to see how her journey comes from being just a regular old smuggler old girl in high school, trying to find a way to fit in, to becoming a superhero that she always wanted to be. And that's going to take us into... Spazzo said, I'm enjoying Miss Marvel. I'm glad you are. Makes me happy. Here. We're going to be talking about Multiverse of Madness and our thoughts on that. Now, Sigma,
so this is going to be a spoiler talk or no?
this is going to be spoiler talk. The movie's been out
Yeah,
for
'cause
quite a while.
Out on streaming services and stuff.
Yes, yeah, it's been out on Disney Plus for a while. So unfortunately, if you haven't seen
Y'all
it,
had enough time.
then shame on you. He said, "Oh no, Spaz, tell me you've had to see Multiverse of Madness."
Man, come on, you had to see it by now.
Sigma. Since, well, I'll let you go. Then we'll let DJ go. Then I'll come in because I think I'm kind of in between you both. What were your thoughts?
I I did not like Multiverse of Madness at all. Like, I went into it like excited because like I really liked the first Doctor Strange. Like I was using it as an example of how to do magic right in a movie, like how to make it interesting to watch because they tied it in with like actual like martial arts. Like they would do things with their hands and like they would fight and create things and constructs or whatever, and like they would bend reality. So like there was always still movement and kinetic things happening as they were fighting with magical abilities. And over the time of the movie, like they would have fight scenes, but like when they had fight scenes, there was no magic, and when they had magic fights, it was all magic, and it was very uninteresting, like kind of like dumb. Like some folks pointed out, like that music fight scene near the end of the movie just really came out of nowhere. And like it was at around that time where me and my fiance were just looking at the screen like, wait, what the f are they doing right now? Like, I think this movie's bad. Like, I think this is just really bad. Because it wasn't up until then that like I was still holding on to hope that something was gonna flip and it was gonna all make more sense and like be more interesting. Because like even all the cameos that folks were like anticipating, like John Krasinski showing up as Mr. Fantastic and stuff, like none of that like really mattered in the grand scheme of things. Like it was cool to see him in that suit, but like he wasn't interesting. They didn't do anything cool after they were introduced, and honestly, like there wasn't even like cool banter between any of the characters from beginning to end. Almost everything that was spoken to one another was like exposition. Like they were just explaining just tons and tons of plot over the course of this movie. Like the movie starts at the end of like somebody else's entire adventure, right? Like you're seeing Doctor Strange and America running around. And it's like, oh, we just did all this stuff, whatever. And it's like, so where was I when this was happening? Because now all these characters have to catch me up,
Right.
And like that's Doctor Strange's role throughout the rest of the movies. Other characters are telling him what's been going on, and like it just didn't make for an interesting story. The set pieces were all pretty like lackluster, and overall, I was very disappointed in what we got. Like, I honestly felt like it was a waste of time. So in a way, I was glad that I had waited to watch it on streaming service because I'd have been real mad if I actually paid money to see that in the theater. But that's my take. I was thoroughly.
So, A to F.
Like honestly, like I would give that like I would give that like an F.
Okay,
In my opinion, that's honestly like the worst Marvel movie they've made so far.
Okay.
Like, even the one that people like to shit on, like Thor 2. Thor 2 has like a really cool set piece in it where the hammer is chasing him like around the planet and stuff.
Right.
Like that's cool. Like that's something that's just like fun, like it's neat or whatever. Like it makes sense because that's a thing that Mjolnir can do.
Right.
And, like it's testing the boundaries of that ability with this character. There's nothing like that in Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Multiverse of Madness, I should say.
All right. Sigma laying in, going in, being critical, making sure he explains his thoughts on Multiverse of, as Spaz calls it, Multiverse of Suck. Before we give DJ the going to his, PG the one says the Illuminati was fan service for sure. The impact in the movie was meh. Okay. DJ, what were your thoughts? Let us know.
Okay. So, being a big fan of Marvel, I am. Honestly, this is the weakest Marvel movie.
Okay.
Out of all. I mean, I like some of the stuff they did, like the Bruce Campbell cameo. I love that where he got cursed to keep beating himself up. But that's messed up because it's really the only big thing I remember, other than you can't talk anymore. That's the only major thing that really stuck out in the movie for me. So it was good. The exposition, yeah, it was a lot, but throughout the movie, it was good how it connected. The fact that we are getting the different dimensional border stuff that happens in Marvel coming, but it could have been done in such a better way. We've seen it done in a better way through Loki.
Yeah,
That's a way
exactly.
smaller scale. But don't want to bash it at the same time because again, it's leading up to this creation of a whole another set of movies. Because you gotta with all of this, everything in the cinematic universe, not including the Disney show, is always leading to this big group picture.
Right.
So you're not going to get the strongest in a solo movie, or you're not always going to get the story elements. But kind of got to stick with some of that if we want go down the line to have a better series.
Okay.
But overall, it was just nah for me.
All right. A to F. D. Okay, so we got a D and an F. Right now, Multiverse.
I want to push back a little bit on the idea that because they're working towards something else, that you're gonna.
Right. I knew you were gonna have something to say about that.
Like, I don't think that's not a good excuse. Like that's time wasted.
Right.
And that's leaving an impression on you when you get to that big set piece. Like you guys remember Defenders, right?
Yes.
Like wasn't nobody hyped to see Danny Rand in action when he met up with everybody else?
Mm-mm.
And honestly, Danny Rand and the stuff that came with him from his series
was the weakest.
Pulled the rest of the show down. Like Defenders sucked mainly because of everything that had to do with Iron Fist.
Right.
So like if you're telling me if Doctor Strange is supposed to be a similar setup for like a lot of other heroes coming together to have to deal with something, that's a bad sign. That I hope that is not the case.
I agree with you, and I think
I don't see it as a Danny Rand.
He's not a Danny Rand.
It the Danny Rand thing.
It's not a Danny Rand thing.
It's
okay.
not a Danny Rand set.
I do feel like. Go ahead.
Get where you're coming from. So that does make me worry too.
All right. So.
But again, I'm willing to set through it.
I agree with you. In that regard, it should be stronger. It should be strong enough on its own. When it comes together, it makes everything else so much better. It being weaker because it's going to be. Here's the thing, and I'm the type of guy I will give something the benefit of the doubt because I know the potential it could have and what it has been or what it could be. I will overlook a lot when it comes to certain comic things, i.e., like Arrow, Flash. I've overlooked a lot in those shows. Because I know what it was, what it could be, the potential of it, and that if that does good, that opens the door for other iterations from different characters. But my thoughts. Oh wait, the music. Let's talk about Rainer Sama. Said the music fight is how college band conductors like drumline. Okay. And they throw notes at each other. Okay, like Pokemon moves. All right. My thoughts on Multiverse of Madness. Okay. Doctor Strange for me wasn't the strongest MCU movie to begin with, I believe.
His first one.
Yes, the first one wasn't the strongest. I thought it was good, but I definitely saw where there were some. I feel like it didn't go enough into the mystic arts. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like it dwelled enough in the mystic arts. We had some stuff with Mordo, some stuff Mordo was around, some stuff with Wong, him reading some books. I did love the choreography, like you said, the zip rings or whatever they're called. I love the different names of the different items, his cloak of levitation, how he got that. Like I loved all those things, but I don't think it dwelled enough into the as separate as mystic arts are in the comics. I feel like they're much closer in the MCU when they should be a lot farther apart. There are certain things that like Go ahead.
I said I feel what you're saying there.
Right. So like to me, right. I feel like they're a lot closer than they should be, but that's fine. First Captain Marvel, cool. Doctor Strange movie was good. I enjoyed it. I watch it over sometimes. Multiverse of Madness, I will say there was a lot of off-screen stuff and conclusions that had to be drawn from WandaVision to get to where we were in Multiverse of Madness.
You have to watch WandaVision
Right.
before you watch this movie.
And most importantly, you have to pay attention to the end credit scene and the end credit scene and how the show ended, to where she gave up her kids. She like, I have to let go of this illusion. They aren't real, just like Vision. I have to accept the grief and kind of start to come to terms with it. She goes on. She uses the Darkhold, and then she hears her kids. I don't think there was enough. They should have opened up with Wanda, or had a cut to Wanda at some point. Maybe coming to the realization that, oh crap, my kids are real, and they're every place but here. And how she not slowly, but kind of started to drift further and further from herself. Like, it's hinted at, like, oh, this was me being, nice, you know what I'm saying, when she was sending the demons. And then when she came, it's like, oh, Doctor Strange's like, oh, why she sent those other people before? He's like, oh, well, this is her not being nice anymore. Now she's going to come and do the job herself. I don't feel like there was enough connection to show how she got from WandaVision to what happened. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was like a small excerpt, you know what I'm saying? Like a one-shot episode to show what was going to happen with her later.
Right.
Like
because
something.
Because this is a character who did do a lot of damage in WandaVision, but was sorry for it.
Right.
Like, she was like, she didn't intend to hurt or trap those people.
Right.
And so that she basically went into exile afterwards. So who now shows up in Multiverse of Madness actively trying to murder a teenager.
Yes. And they don't show the... Here's the thing. I would have been happy if, like I said, she would have came to realization that there is a way. Maybe something spoke to her and said, hey, there is a way to... Like Cthulhu, the book, the person who created the Darkhold, all the magic that went inside of it. Hey, there is a way for you to get your kids back. You just have to use the Darkhold. And slowly, the more she used the Darkhold to do some of his things, the more she slipped into being, into madness. Like, okay. You know what I'm saying? I think they should have did a better job of showing her more unhinged. Like, she looked not like herself, but more unhinged. You know what I'm saying? Like, she still had a level of composure about herself. Like this, like even like just far as makeup should have showed her maybe some disheveled hair, stuff like that. Like, she looked like she wasn't, in all her, she didn't have all her numbers together, like something. You know what I'm saying? Like, where she slowly drifted into madness. We saw the black hands. I don't think they showed enough side effects from the Darkhold on her. Like, even if like her nose started to bleed from time to time or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, to show that there were some effects.
We really just needed, if WandaVision had ended less ambiguous about Wanda's morality. Like, if they let that show end and Wanda basically went like, F all these people, I lost so much, you're gonna hear from me. Like,
oh yes, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
She goes full Karen at the end of the movie, like, look, I'm gonna be a problem now because no one will let me have what I want. Right. Then like that's just something that's pending. So like you can understand from that ending that by the time you end up in Doctor Strange, she's been doing some stuff. And that she's now, this far gone. But like it was so gradual there. Like she was sitting there like apologizing and meditating and like I understand like what the subtle things we're saying in that end credit scene, but if you're not paying full attention, and honestly this is months after, like you don't necessarily remember that tiny tidbit there to be like, all right, well that is why she's now going to kill several people to achieve her goal. Like it's not a one-to-one comparison.
I agree. Like when I initially heard that she was going to be the bad guy, it was a rumor that she would be the bad guy in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. I'm like, I don't like that. I don't think that's I don't think it fits. It just doesn't fit. I could see those two working together, something like blah 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 blah, coming against Cthulhu or some other bigger, higher beings, you know what I'm saying, trying to save America Chavez, and then she comes to a moral dilemma where there's a chance that she could turn on them to get her kids back, or what she's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are some of the things I thought could have been good. Now, my likes from the show were, well, before I get to likes, Multiverse of Madness. They didn't go to really many multiverses. that they
Yeah.
actually spent time in. You know what I'm saying? Like
They did like a little montage for you.
yeah, like they fell through a bunch, like into the Spider-Verse, something like that, like where, but they fell through a bunch. They didn't really stop in many. Like I feel like for it to be Multiverse of Madness, they should have been getting chased across multiple multiverses by these demons, trying to escape from them, right? Coming across, they ain't gotta join them, but see other people in the background as they're fleeing. Like those are things, like, or they're fighting people in these other towns and stuff like that. Like I think that could have been cool, but they dropped the ball and we lost DJ for a second.
Yeah, looks like he's taking care of something.
Yes.
I'll
Okay.
call
Cool.
you back.
All right. So I thought that could have been cool. I think for it to be Multiverse of Madness, it didn't go into enough multiverses.
That's true. I think that's a fair criticism.
Yeah, like it just didn't go into enough worlds. Like it fell through a bunch, but didn't stop in a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like even how she was talking about the different foods that she had. Like, oh, well, like food is free every other multiverse I've been through besides yours. You know what I'm saying? And then she
Except this one,
Yeah.
and the one right now.
right pizza
So
balls.
this multiverse is actually a lot like the one we just did.
Yeah, like pizza balls.
Right.
So I'm gonna try some pizza balls at some point. My likes. I liked America Chavez. I like how she looked.
To be honest, I thought that was kind of like mishandled as well.
You didn't like her?
Like, not that I didn't like her, but like that character just didn't get any time to like be a character. Like she's thrown into the middle of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and again, the way they deliver like her backstory, they literally stand in front of a thing that just shows the memories. Like, what kind of lazy storytelling is that? Like, they just happen to see her superhero or like. It's so lazy. Like, it's the same level of it's the same level of like catching up the audience as they did in Loki when they kind of showed clips from the Avengers movies.
Oh yeah.
Except for the fact that this wasn't something that we needed to be reminded of. This was new information.
Mm-hmm.
So all they really had to do was show that scene, like as it happened. That could have been how the movie started.
I agree. That whole thing should have been how the movie started. Her getting
Yeah, like
lost.
that whole scene, like
right.
you don't know anything about these characters, but then you just see that event happen, and then you smash cut to like Doctor Strange at the wedding.
Yes.
And then you see how everything is connected.
Yes, I agree.
But,
I agree with that.
That, it was silly.
That would have been.
But, like,
a-
But I'll also say, it might maybe because I was watching it at home, but I also thought a lot of the special effects were like really bad. Like a lot of it looked very cheap.
I didn't think it looked too
and-
bad in theaters.
Yeah, like maybe the theaters match some of that, but at home, like I was sitting here like, yo, is Marvel like
Losing.
like they have like some money problems? 'Cause, like, what's going on with the way like this stuff is moving? But like the main thing was like action stuff that had America Chavez in it just was not handled well.
Right.
Like you could absolutely tell whenever she was on wires, when she throws that big punch in the finale of the movie.
Right.
This is, oh my god, I feel like I'm nitpicking, but like it's a very simple fix. It's the thing where if you're gonna throw a punch where you're jumping through the air, you gotta hold that punch until you reach the target. She's flying through the air like this. She's going, ah! All right, like that's
The
come
old
on
karate
now.
movies.
Tell her to hold her hand back. She can fly through the air as far as you want, but then when she gets to the target, then you
Throw
can
the
throw the
punch.
punch.
Right.
It looks really silly when you do it the other way.
I agree.
But like that's what they shot and left in the movie.
That's true.
So it's like much respect to Sam Raimi. Like he's a legend. He made the first really big Spider-Man movies or whatever, as well as Evil Dead and all those other movies that he's responsible for. But he is a very campy director, and I don't think that fit this movie's tone at all.
I could see that.
Like it
I think they were
like
trying to go too far
it's
into
too,
the.
yeah, it's too comic-y. And,
Yeah.
and I know it's a comic. I know this sounds weird, but
Right. But we see that in Ash and Evil Dead and Spider-Man, right? I think they were too focused on trying to make sure they incorporate some horror elements, and I don't really think there was much horror elements besides the ghosts and stuff at the end. Or the zombie, but like zombies aren't really like they're so mainstream. Like, are they really horror anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like do they really give the same effect? What I mean by America Chavez, like I thought her acting was okay. I do agree that like if they would have showed her origin in the beginning and it cut away after she fell through the star, the little hole she created, and then went into everything, I thought that would have been pretty cool. That's a smart suggestion. I do like the introduction of the Illuminati, but once again, they were more of a set piece. I also didn't think they represented them the same way the characters that they should have been represented. As far as like Mr. Fantastic being the smartest man in the multiverse, I'm sure he didn't think it was a good idea to tell Wanda what Black Bolt's power was before the fight even started. Like, did we not go in with a contingency plan? Just to, like, did they never think someone would get inside the Citadel? Like, hey, we're gonna attack in a coordinated formation. Not everybody attack one by one, right? Or like, hey, my man Black Bolt, right? He'll blow you away with just a breath. Oh well, I'll take away his mouth. And he's looking at Richard's like, bro, like really? Why'd you tell her? Like,
or like that's what he was trying to say. He was like, Richard, and then he
it's just boop, just done. Like,
trying to
come
yell
on,
at
man! Like, what is you doing? And so, like, his character portrayal. While I thought John Krasinski, for the time that he was on it, he looked good. I mean, I can't make it. I would have to see more in it to make a better, judge of how he actually played the character. But he looked like him. His body language was what I thought it would be. But I don't think they portrayed the Reed Richards that we all know and love, where he would have had a contingency plan. Well, you don't really, I know your thoughts on the Fantastic Four. I know your thoughts on there, but I don't think he portrayed himself as this super smart individual where they didn't have a contingency plan if Wanda showed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, they kept going at her one by one. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just didn't make any sense. Like, the Richards I know, he wouldn't have even been fighting her hand to hand. Right, he would have had something like behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Something would have been going on. Right.
Yeah, you'd have had something to deal with.
Right.
That.
You would have had some type of machine or something.
That's smart.
Yeah, but they didn't portray him that way.
They didn't even really explain what the Illuminati was. Like, they really took it for granted that the people watching this movie already knew.
Right.
Right. But if that was the case, like the characters that they had sitting on that council, how many of them were actually on like the comic version of the Illuminati? Like, not many, right?
All of them except for Mordo and Captain Marvel version. But
there was only how many of them were there? Like 5?
So Professor X, the original Doctor Strange that they killed, he was on there. You had Black Bolt and Reed Richards. Those 4 were from the original comic version. The 3 stand-ins could it be Captain Carter? Captain America was on the
Captain Carter was
right. Captain America was on the original Illuminati, but they took him off and wiped his mind when he didn't agree with something that they were going to do. They wanted to destroy other Earths to stop the incursions, and Captain America wasn't with that. He got outvoted, so they kicked him out and kind of wiped his brain, so he didn't know.
Because he was definitely going to try to stop him.
Right. So 3 or 4 of them kind of weren't part of the original.
Okay.
Had Black Namor, I think.
Black Panther, Namor.
Have done that.
Right.
It didn't seem significant. Like, I'd heard of the Illuminati, but like what their significance is to the the greater Marvel multiverse story, like they didn't really sell that.
Right.
So like I was kind of like in Doctor Strange's shoes, where he just really didn't have any respect for them.
He's like, who are these dudes?
Yeah, like why should anyone be listening to this council? Like,
right.
You guys don't seem like you actually get much done of any interest.
Right. And I think there was some more exposition they could have done with that as well. Like, and they get sometimes they get lazy. Sometimes I'm awfully concerned where is it my expectations that caused the movie not to be as good as it could have been? Like, were my expectations too high? Where there's all these things that I know that I want to see, and if they don't happen, do I then fault the movie? Or was the movie just inherently not as good as it should have been based on the things that it said it was going to do and based on the things that it actually did? Yes, it was all your fault, Jeff.
That's my problem right there. Train, Wanda, all the different characters, and I'm like, going to the movie, drop all of this stuff and lower those expectations.
Right.
That I'm having. And for this one, I lowered, I specifically lowered my expectations. But it still was just a mess. And I just can't sit well with that.
All right. While we're
also hope to have hope for the future.
And I agree with you. But while we're winding down, if you're in the chat, give us your rating from A to F and what you thought Multiverse of Madness was. We're gonna factor it in with ours, and we're gonna see what the final grade is. Winding down my recount, I love seeing Black Bolt. I hated the Inhuman series. I felt like it didn't do him justice. I felt like it didn't represent the Inhumans, who are already having a hard enough time trying to even get into the MCU. I didn't think it did them any favors. I did enjoy seeing Black Bolt. He is one of my favorite Marvel characters. Top 3. Love seeing him. That was great. Reed Richards, John Krasinski. I love seeing that. They all die? Okay, fine. What am I going to do? What's going to happen, you know? We might get another one. We might not, but who knows? And so it was another thing. We gave you what you wanted, but guess what? If we decide not to bring these characters back, then we don't have to because they're dead. If we decide to get other actors to play them, guess what? That's fine because they're not the same person. So I enjoyed seeing them. It was great for me to see that. I am sad about Wanda's story. I felt it was handled very poorly. Doctor Strange, I feel like they were trying to touch on some stuff with him as far as like, here's the thing. I don't feel like he was so readily to give up everyone else's life for the sake of the greater good, even though he mentioned that, like, hey, listen, if it comes down to you and this boy, I'm not giving him the stone, right? But, right, he saw those possibilities, like, there's only one way. I got to give the stone up. So I don't feel like there was a history of him just giving up a good percentage of people for the sake of the majority. I don't feel like there was a good enough connection between that. I don't feel like it was the same.
They tried to paint it as if he's known for making sacrifices of people for like logistical purposes. But it was like, no, that's because he saw that everyone would come back at the end, right? Like, so like that's not the same thing as I'm gonna kill this girl so that I can be happy.
Right. And that was a thing where it was a disconnect between what that Defender Strange was and what he was doing. Even though they tried to connect it where he said like, oh, well, I would have made better use of your powers, it kind of made it slipped. I don't feel like he would have ever made that step where he took her powers knowing she would die. Mind you, he helped a teenage boy who wanted to bring back his secret identity to help him. Right.
Like so like on a whim.
Right. So it didn't seem like they didn't do a good job of he was so far removed from everything else where he only saw what the bigger picture was. I feel like they could have made a better case that he was more disconnected from the rest of humanity because of his position as Sorcerer Supreme. Well, ex-Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. Right. Right. I did like Wong. Yeah, right. I thought Wong always does a good job. I really enjoyed Wong.
Yeah, he's great.
Right.
Wong is amazing. Wong's amazing.
He is. He's just so good. Like, the stuff with the other Wanda, I don't feel like was handled very well either. It was like somebody. So I think we talked about this. Somebody broke into your house, but you decided not to fix the door. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Yeah. And hope it doesn't happen again. And then it happens again, and like it just. I don't know.
It's like a video game where like you have the ability to like control an NPC. So like when you control that NPC, you're doing whatever you want, and then when you leave, the NPC just goes back to its routine.
Right.
Like that's essentially what was going on with the other Wanda.
That's a very good comparison. I think that the movie could have been better. I thought the movie was okay. The ending also. While I knew what was going on with the end credit scene,
yeah, I was like,
some of the stuff
is this
a lot of times, and I think we talked about this before when we were talking about Young Justice, where it goes in expecting you to have a certain knowledge of certain things, and it doesn't fully explain other things. You know what I'm saying? We talked about that before. I think this end credit scene was another example where it just expected you to know who the niece of Dormammu was, who Clea was.
And the thing is, with end credit scenes, I think that's actually fine because they're supposed to be teases.
Okay.
Because oftentimes they'll show you something that you don't really recognize, and then you'll go do the research.
Right.
But my problem was like, it wasn't even like enticing. Like, it was literally jump through the thing. Come on, let's go. It's like, all right, let's go. And like, and then they jump through. I'm like, that was dumb. Like that was like Saturday morning. Blues Clues type nonsense. Like, what the hell was this?
I could have seen if a portal opened up, he fell in and ended up somewhere else, and then she was there saying, "Hey, man, I need your help." Like, change the set.
Yeah, at least that's a little more intriguing,
Right.
because like, okay, there's a situation now that he's found himself in.
Right.
What happens next? Okay,
Yeah.
that's at least a little intriguing, right?
Because it started
Just
with him
like,
walking
hey,
down the street.
We gotta go.
Like, I'm okay with that. Like, it started
I
with
don't
him
know who
walking.
you are, but all right.
It started with him walking down the street, then all of a sudden had a headache, and then he had another eye, and then it cuts back to him walking down almost the same street, and then she pops out. I was like, just go. Why are you even going this way anymore? Like, what's the even point? Like, go another way.
Right.
But I think they reused that too much. Like, if he would have been like walking down the street and had the headache fine, and then whatever, he got where he was going to get a coffee, and he walked out the door and fell through the hole, and then ended up in another dimension, and then she was there. That I think that would have worked a little bit better. He walked down that street, then he walked down another street, and then it was just like, that was the end credit scene.
It kind of like everything in that movie kind of just happens to him.
Mhm.
Like the only thing he had agency in really was like, I'm going to a wedding. I'm gonna go see my ex-girlfriend get married. But then there's a monster attack, so I gotta go deal with that.
Right.
And then there's a girl who can punch portals, so I gotta deal with that.
Mhm.
And now the end of the world, I gotta deal with that. Like,
Yeah.
Man just found
Yeah.
in all situations.
Yeah, like,
trying to go to a wedding.
Now,
just bouncing from one thing to the next with no real reason. It's just, well, I'm Doctor Strange. I'm a superhero, so I guess I need to be involved.
right. Now the biggest
There's no
letdown.
connection to him for any of that stuff.
No, it just it happens in front of me, and I have no choice but to get involved. Not like, oh, you hear about this, you go looking for this, and then these things start to happen. My biggest letdown is the Book of the Vishanti, where that didn't even really need to be part of the story. I feel like it was such a big letdown. It didn't really do anything for the plot. It just gave them a target to go to. Then that target was gone. No explanation of what it was going to do, what it was supposed to do, what it even did for the other universe, right? Because they found the Book of Vishanti and was able to stop their version of Thanos. But it didn't say how they were able to, what it did for them that they were able to stop it. Because you can't use it unless you're a sorcerer, number one. So how did it help them? It probably helped that Doctor Strange. But also, if he gave up the Darkhold, he then used the Book of Vishanti to stop Thanos, but they still killed him.
Yeah, 'cause did something happen to him? Like, he was like,
He had the eye, or whatever, the third eye, but they didn't say like, oh, it would have made more sense if he was corrupted by the Darkhold. I think it was because he had created an incursion or something by accident. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think they did say something like that.
And then, like, he used the book. Then he understood what he was doing. He gave it up. Got the Book of Ashanti. He had to be the one to use it. None of them used magic. So thus he gave up the other book because evil can't use the Book of the Vishanti. That's just the rules. There's a book of the good. There's a book of the bad. You can't. The good can use the bad, but then they eventually become bad from using it. But the bad don't use the good book and eventually find Jesus.
Once you go bad, you can't be good again. Is
You
that what
can't.
you're saying? Because that don't seem right.
I'm
What's
just
going on in
saying.
the magic world?
You know what I'm saying? So I felt like that was a lost point as well. I feel like it would have been more if he used the Book of the Darkhold to stop Thanos, and they realized that's what he used to stop him. That's how he got so powerful all of a sudden. And then he started to slow his slip into madness, and they had no choice but to put him down. I would have went with that a little bit.
Becoming a threat.
Yes. And I would have
Okay.
went more with that instead. So it was just some slips there that I thought definitely weren't explained. And my biggest letdown is I thought some of the zombies from the What If episode, that's who that Doctor Strange was. Like, I was souped for that. I was like, oh, is that the zombie Doctor Strange? Like, it was a zombie, but it wasn't the one from What If that I was thinking. Like, and that was just me,
That'd
not
have been-
really the show.
I mean, they did show Captain Carter.
Right.
So, like, they were trying to give you like those tidbits of like, hey, have you watched
What If? Yeah, go check it
'Cause
out.
There's some of that in this too, right?
Right.
But like the zombie stuff, I don't think that would have helped anything.
No.
That was one of the weakest What If episodes anyway.
But that was one of the fan favorites that everyone wanted and they loved because they love Marvel zombies. But my biggest thing, like I said, is not enough multiverses, not enough explanation on characters, too much of a disconnect between Wanda then and not Wanda now, and also the origin story. They, like you said, I agree with that's a good point. I would have put that in the beginning to lead into everything else. even the demons that they sent were very mediocre. Those demons didn't really seem to be like all that powerful. You know what I'm saying?
Just CG monsters just give you reasons to have superhero
Right.
fight scenes.
And then where did they get all these extra recruits for the for the Hogwarts of the Marvel universe? Like all of a sudden it was all filled again. Like I did in the movie, they were rebuilding it.
Wong doing work. He's been Sorcerer Supreme for the 5 years that Strange has been gone. Like Wong actually knows protocols. He's been getting people involved.
Yeah, he's like,
Strange don't be doing that.
You
like actually a bad Sorcerer Supreme.
What would have been cool, and I know it's not possible now, but like if we just saw Ned Reeds like as one of those students.
Oh, yeah, that would have been a nice little cameo.
So finally, my thoughts. I give it a C.
I think you're being very generous.
I give it a C. I think that is not very generous. That is actually very critical. From me, I feel like it's a C. I don't see a D and an F. I just don't. I don't think it was the weakest Marvel movie that I've seen. And you're
what do you think is the weakest one? like what's a worse movie in your opinion than Multiverse?
Eternals.
You think Eternals was worse?
Eternals.
Eternals' crime was being mediocre at best. Like it tells a decent coherent story. It doesn't have like super interesting characters in it.
Right. At least I cared about the characters who were in Multiverse of Madness. I don't think I cared about any of the characters besides Kit Harington, who had the least amount of screen time.
Kit Harington, not even that
right. Like he had the least amount of screen time, but I kept and it was more like, Black Knight was introduced in this. The end credit scene. Is that Blade? Like that was the best part of the movie for me. So that's why, while Multiverse of Madness still had some stuff during the runtime that I enjoyed, I do see Eternals as the weakest one for me. Spazzo said this was the weakest for him. So we got C's, D's, and F's. My C isn't going to help it. It is still a failing movie. So that's where we end up. I want to thank you guys for coming out for the Omniverse Comic Discussion.
Of course.
The topics were great. We got a lot of insight into the boys, Miss Marvel. I'm interested to see your thoughts once the series is over. And we finished up with Multiverse of Madness. Eventually, we'll come back and we'll talk about the next one in line, which is Thor: Love and Thunder. So we'll be going into that and talking about that in a future episode. So we'll look to have you both back when you can. How about you guys let everybody know where they can find you and what you're doing this week?
You guys can find me at Sigma Gears 9 on Twitch. We just had an episode this past Sunday of the Sigma Show. It's a video game podcast about all the news and stuff going on in the industry. You can listen to that on your favorite podcast service if you like. Just search for the Sigma Show. It should pop up. If it doesn't, let me know and I'll figure out what the hell's going on there. But outside of that, one of my last streams for a little while on The Escapist will be tomorrow, and it's ironically going to be the finale for Metal Gear Solid 2. Me and Marty have been playing through that.
I can't wait to
we'll
see.
Finish that up on Thursday. And then after that, you probably won't see me around for about 2 weeks, but then I'll be back doing streams at a new time on The Escapist sometime after that. Starting a new job with Ubisoft soon. So.
Awesome. Yeah, congratulations on that again. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Spaz has a question. I think
Spaz. Spaz, but did you care about the characters in the Multiverse of Madness film itself, or because they were already established as your familiarity and fondness of the comics? I will say from the past, but also Doctor Strange has never really been my favorite. So it was mostly, honestly, it was the things that saved it were the introduction of the cameos like Professor X, the alternate version of Baron Mordo. Like I love that character. And the introduction of America Chavez, because I know what the introduction of her could mean for the future. So some of that did lend to my decision for it to be the second of the worst, maybe, from the Marvel movies. So it definitely was some of my bias going into that. But DJ, where can everybody find you? I apologize.
So DJ Quick 59, that's DJQ podcast. But you can find me here on Twitch, and since I've been getting a lot more familiar with streaming and everything, you can also find me on Twitter at same handle. I'm gonna be on there to start discussing different video games playing and start doing a comment of the week on my Twitter, and just posting up. I get in my usual comic book calls.
Awesome.
And remember that, find me in Discord or on Facebook.
There we go.
All
Awesome.
the same thing.
Check them out. Check out these two gentlemen. Also check me out. If you got some time, you got a little bit of time, check me out. Go over to both their Twitches and follow them if you got some time. Mine's as well. We're all part of the Open Party, a group of like-minded individuals who stream, watch, and talk about things together. We have a Discord if you're not a part of that, which most of you are. For me this week, tomorrow I'll be doing Destiny 2. We'll be doing the Duality Dungeon, so come to check that out. I started out with a couple of the clan members, me, Ricky, and Ox. We did the first encounter, walking them through that. So we'll be finishing that up tomorrow. So if you got some time, come check it out. If you want to play and you want to do some runs, come through for as well. That'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Other than that, check us out next week for the Omniverse Comic Discussion. Same time, same place. I'll probably be with Sigma on Super Smash Sunday. We'll see how that goes. But aside from that, everybody have a great night and stay safe. Peace.